Good evening, everybody, and how are we all doing today? It is Sunday, the 17th of March, 2024, and it is, of course, time for our Sunday night live stream. Now, tonight's subject is all about garden visits. I want to know what your favourite gardens that you go and visit might be, whereabouts they are, what you like about them, and all those sort of things. This is running, of course, if you heard the podcast this week, running off the back of the fact that last week I went to RHS Hyde Hall, had a great time there, and it kind of really got me motivated and inspired again to start going out and visiting gardens, something I absolutely love doing, and I really do. Every year I say this, want to do more of it. So before we get into that, let's find out who we actually have in the chat. And we've got Ballycillian, allotment man, out there saying, good evening, everyone. Good evening to you. Adrian is out there saying hello to myself and all. Good evening to you. We've got Turbo Stream out there saying good evening, Veg Podcasters. Good evening to you. Philly SBB is out there saying hello, everyone. Good evening to you. Stuart Jackson is there saying evening, Richard and the Veg Army. I hope your gardens are drier than mine. I still need a boat to get to mine. We'll get into that in just a moment. Anna Jones is there saying evening, gardeners. Good evening to you. Oh, our signal's just dropped. Why has that happened? Anna Jones is there saying another tipping down in the northeast last night. Garden like a swimming pool again. Really is past a joke now. Tell me about it. Tell me about it. Scott is there saying good evening all. Good evening to you. Muddy Boots is there saying good evening all. Good evening to you. Hargrave Gas, evening all. Hope you've all had a great week. I'm travelling up through France, hoping the mobile signal will last. I know how you feel. Digwell once again coming in with his foreign languages. Joyni Nomajoi Koi Muti. Good evening, everyone, in Swahili. He's certainly trying to teach us a few things these last few weeks, isn't he? Has anybody paid attention? Is there going to be a test at the end of it, of course? Nicola of Cornish Heaven, evening all, sun today and couldn't get out in it, has pulled some muscles in the back, Ray, and a raging kidney infection again. I'm sorry to hear that. I hope you are looking after yourself first and foremost. That's the most important thing. Rebecca is there saying good evening, everyone. Good evening to you. Steve is there saying good evening. Good evening to you. And Kate is there saying good evening, Veg Army. Good evening, you. Chili Kate is also there. Good evening from the Chilies. Just got back from an hour or so on the sunny allotment. Well, I know, rain. It seems like over the last few weeks, all we've done is complain about the rain and how it's affecting our gardens. And it has been a massive problem. Don't get me wrong. We need some dry weather. We just need it to dry out for a bit so we can actually get out and enjoy the gardens, do some work in the gardens. It's just so wet at the moment. I've got a hole in our garden where Roxy basically dug, and it is just like a pond. It's just so full of water. Even though on top it looks dry, this hole is just full like a pond. It is amazing just how bad it is. And it's causing problems, of course, for many of us because it's difficult to get our onion sets in, or our potatoes are going to need to go in soon because it is just so wet. This week, however, we had a lovely morning. One morning I got up pretty early and I went out in the garden for about an hour before I went to work. The sun was shining. It was absolutely lovely. I can't remember what day it was, but it was lovely. And I sort of said to a few people, it set me up for the day, just doing a bit of gardening out in the sun before going to work. It was lovely. And then lo and behold, yesterday, I had to go up to the NEC yesterday for a show, and we're driving up there. Of course, beautiful sunshine all morning, and I was sitting there thinking to myself, I would love to be on the allotment today, and I just couldn't get it. I was at the NEC. However, later on that afternoon, it did rain. Driving home, it rained, and of course, overnight it rains. But today, in the afternoon, we did get some nice sunshine. Not enough. It still needs to grow to dry out a bit. Turbo Extreme says on that note, I managed to nail it in my home garden and another hour on the plot today. Still wet ground, so only was pulling weeds. It's a problem that I think a lot of us are having. It is all down to these weeds. Andrew Norris says, hello, everyone. Just taking Zorro for a quick walk, but I'll be back. Hello to Zorro and hello to Andrew as well. Turbo Stream says, I wanted to clear a section ready for tatties to go in. Should be today as it's St. Patrick's Day. St. Patrick's Day is on Wednesday, if I'm not mistaken. I was looking, I've got a couple of days off this week, Thursday, Friday. I was looking to get my potatoes in on Thursday, following on from St. Patrick's Day, but it is going to depend on just how wet that ground is. We had a question about this in the forum, not the forum, the Facebook group. Anyway, let's get into what we want to discuss tonight, and that is, what are some of your gardens that you love to visit? What are your favourite gardens that you go to visit? Now, I think we do discuss this about once a year, especially around this sort of time, because I always find it very, very exciting to go and visit some gardens. I think there are some lovely gardens out there, really, really inspirational. I always go in and I look for things that I might use in my own garden or on my allotment, things that they are doing or things they might be using. Just some little ideas for some inspiration. For me, what makes a good garden to visit is, of course, it has to have a good vegetable garden. So that's a big thing for me. Be a good vegetable garden, and then some of the ones that I've listed today are going to have that. We'll just quickly go to the comments and see what everyone's saying. Digwell is saying St. Paddy's Day today. Oh, I got that wrong, didn't I then? Of course it is today, 17th of March. I don't know what I was thinking, 20th of March. I'm thinking of something else. Rob's Allotment Garden says, good evening all. Good evening to you. Ian McCragan says, hi, Richard and all. Good evening to you. Hope you are well. Ballycillian says, evening, Rob. Evening, Rob. Evening, Rob. Who's Rob? Oh, Rob. Yes, sorry. I just read it out. And Digwell says, Wednesday is the start of spring. That's probably where I'm getting my dates muddled. Apologies for that. Yes, so we should be getting our potatoes in today. Who actually got their potatoes in, though? Is it too wet where you are for getting your potatoes? Anyway, yes, back to the good vegetable gardens. As you know, last Saturday I went to RHS Hyde Hall, and they had a really lovely vegetable garden. It's called something like the Global Growth garden, which I just felt didn't really say what it does. It had this beautiful octagonal greenhouse in the middle with this cobweb of garden beds moving out. It was lovely, absolutely lovely, and I'm really glad I went to it. And it just reminded me why I go and visit some of these gardens, because they are such a good collection out there. So some of my favourite gardens do list in vegetable gardens. Westdean in near Chichester is one of those. Got a fantastic walled garden. Last time I went there, they seemed to be not doing so much veg, but that was after COVID. I haven't been there since, but it really was a good place for vegetable gardens. Audley End House, of course, up in Essex. They've got a fantastic walled vegetable garden as well. Bewley also has a good vegetable garden, and there's a few more out there. I'm sure there are. Let's see what everybody is saying in the chat. Chili Cake says, we love to visit Houghton Lodge Gardens in Hampshire. It has a lovely mix of walled gardens with vegetables, an orchard and herb garden, a Japanese garden, meadows and riverside walk. Whereabouts in Hampshire is that? I think you've mentioned it before. Is this one I've said I've got to go and visit and just never actually got round to? I'd love to know. I'd love to know just where in Hampshire that is. Ian says it's too wet for my garden. It's too wet for most people's garden, I think. It is just so annoying, isn't it, as gardeners? Nigel says Attingham Park near Shrewsbury for me. Got a lovely walled garden and a huge greenhouse. Absolutely fantastic. That sounds delightful. It's one I think we will have to go and visit. I keep saying this every year. We're going to have to go and visit these, but time just slips away. Robs, we've had rain for most of the day again today, haven't we all? All night and everything. I mean, we had nice sunshine in the afternoon today, but the morning was rain. Digler says, another few days for my spuds, trying to time them to be in their peak for late June show. It's difficult, isn't it, to try and get this right. It's just difficult to get it right for our potatoes. Turbo Stream says, I don't tend to go around gardens, but a garden centre, Webs of Witchbold, near Droitwich. I'm probably pronouncing those completely wrong, but I'm trying. Have gardens you can walk around. I try to go every season to look. They opened a woodland trail last year. Fantastic. I mean, this is the garden centres I love when they have gardens as well, if they ever do have them. Definitely one I think we go and visit. Ballycillian planted 20 buckets of potatoes today. Plant another 20 next week. So spreading them out. And in buckets, I guess it doesn't matter if it's wet as it is in the ground, but it certainly is for us. Tabby Stream says, my spuds are still in the bag. Yeah. Mine are on the shelves waiting to be sown. Go in. Rob says, Lost Gardens of Babylon is nice. A great veg garden. Did you find them in? Is that secret? You're not telling anybody where they are, so they remain lost. Chillyfield, Houghton Lodge is near Romsey. Fantastic. I mean Romsey quite often. I will have to go and visit that one. There's a Hillier near Romsey as well, if I'm not mistaken. Steve says, Audley End House. Haven't been to that for 20 plus years, but remember its walled garden as a great inspiration. Yeah, there's much more of it that they don't show as well, or isn't open as of yet. There's a huge amount at Audley End House. You see all these buildings behind the fences. The walled garden goes on and on for much, much further. We only see a tiny amount of it. Ian says, I am looking to go to Garner's World Spring. What day are you going, Richard and all? I'll be going on the Friday because I'm on call. So I'll be going on the Friday. I went a few weeks ago, building lots of pergolas and a lean-to in the garden area. Talking about the garden centre, fantastic. Toby Stream says, I'm more a hill walking person. I like to go up high. The Client and Weasleys are my favourite. It is in Cornwall. Story. Oh yes, the lost Gardens of Heligan, isn't it? The Lost Gardens of Heligan, I think they're called. Perhaps somebody could correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm sure it's the Lost Gardens of Heligan that are in down that way. Chillyfield, yes, Hilliers is near Romsey, but no veg there. There we go. I won't be going to that then. Toby Stream, I might go again soon, Nigel. Have a nosy about. Chilly Fields says, Ian, we're going to Gardens World Spring on Friday as well. And Ian says, Villas Arboretum is near Romsey, but the best time is autumn or winter as it's trees. Fantastic. Now, we've mentioned the Gardens World Spring, of course. If you want a chance to win tickets, head to the Veg Ground podcast and you will find the choice of or the name a chicken and you could win tickets to Gardens World Spring. I will get my words out today, which is, of course, at Bewley House and Gardens, but which always fascinates me because I think whenever we hear of Bewley, we instantly think of the Motor Museum, which, don't get me wrong, is a fantastic thing to go and see. But the House and Gardens are just as nice. And every year when I visit the Spring Show, we always have to go off to the walled gardens and give it a visit as well. They are absolutely lovely again. There is veg there sometimes. Not so much lately, but there was some lovely vegetables. Sorry, not so much at the time of year. It's the beginning of May, so the vegetables are a bit limited, but you can see the gardens going and what they can be doing. If you want to go to Spring Fair, I do have a discount code as well, if that is of any interest to anybody. I think that is on the website. I can't remember. What else have we got? Where are we? Scott says it's not so good for veg garden, but Bressingham Steam and Gardens are well worth a visit. Steam Museum and Gardens plus a decent garden centre. Where's that near? Bressingham, I'm guessing. But is that near Cambridge or somewhere? Let us know. Heligan is in Cornwall. That's what I thought. Yes, that's it. Not Babylon. I thought it was the Lost Gardens of Heligan. Lost Gardens of Babylon, if I'm not mistaken, are completely lost. They are one of the seven wonders of the ancient world, along with a few other things. If I'm not mistaken, It'd be interesting to find a bit more out on that, actually. Trebar is another good one in Cornwall. Has he got a good vegetable garden? Or what is so good about these gardens that you're listing? What is it that you find that you like about these gardens? Let us know that as well. Ian says, I will look at Friday. Anna Jones, I enjoyed your visit to one garden in Brighton. Lynn B did a good video there in the autumn. It seems to have made a really good progress since you and Lee were there. Yes, one garden in Brighton. I haven't listed that. One garden in Brighton it's actually a free one to go and visit, but they do charge for parking. But it is it's run by a college, Plumpton College, and they've created this fantastic garden in a stately home, and it's a teaching garden, I guess you could say. But they've got a good vegetable, they've got a good sort of water gardens and things like that. It really is. If you are ever down in Brighton, it's well worth going to visit. You do need. It is on the outskirts of Brighton, so you do either need to drive or take a bus. And the price of parking, as always in Brighton, is a fortune. But it is a good garden, good cakes as well in the calf. They've got a greenhouse, an old greenhouse they're trying to restore, as well as some scientific experiments and some sort of hydroponic systems that they're testing out and things like that as well, which also make it worth having a look at. So lots of good options there to go and view. IB says the chicken's name should be chicken korma. We used to have Boona. So, but if that's your suggestion, email it to me and let me know. Bethan has joined, saying evening all. Good evening to you. Scott says his garden. Where was it? Bressingham Steam and Gardens is in Norfolk. It's in Norfolk. There we go. Dis. No, I don't think I've been there. Ian Beddoes says only a couple miles from me, but RHS Salford, but I've never been. That's a shame. That's a shame. It'd be good to get a bit of a report of these gardens when people go and visit them, wouldn't it? Chili Cake says we're holidaying in Cornwall this year, so appreciate any recommendations. There's so many, isn't there, down in whatever area you may visit. I know if I was in Cornwall, it'd be Lost Garden of Heligan, the Eden Project, which I also believe is in Cornwall. There's quite a few that I would want to go to. We've actually next month, if I time it right, there's a garden that I want to visit in a castle, Arundel Castle. Arundel Castle was a customer of mine, so I go in there quite often and have a look at their fridges. And I often walk around the gardens while working there, but I can't, because I'm working, I can't really have a chance to have a good nose round. So I'm hoping to go in there one day very soon and have a really good nose around their gardens. They do a tulip festival. I know this is not veg related, but the tulip festival is meant to be spectacular, where they have these sort of rows and rows of all these tulips in the grounds and like the apple trees and things like that coming up from it, which is what I've seen pictures of, but I want to go and get some inspiration and take a few photos of that to see what we might inspire ourselves to. Again, this is what I'm saying. When I visit these gardens, I'm looking for some inspiration. I'm looking for ideas that I might use in my own garden. And as I said, Arundel Castle, I mean, I quite like tulips. Technically, I think the flowers are edible, but you can't really, or they're not considered an edible. But if they can enhance the look of our trees, then I think that can be a good thing at the same time. What are we going? Ian says Hinton Ampner in Hampshire has a small kitchen garden in the grounds. I think you've mentioned this one before. Again, what is it you like about these gardens? What is it that makes it special that you want to, or that you recommend seeing them? Nicholas says, "Did Kate pop into mine when you're in Cornwall?" Of course. Um, yeah. So, what else have we got on my list? One of the gardens that I've visited, or I've got a few gardens that I want to visit. First, of course, Charles Dowden's gardens. I don't know if I think he does do open days, and that might be the time that I go and visit. Um, So again, that is a vegetable garden. I mean, there's nothing about it but vegetables, and that's one reason I do want to go and visit it. And I think that would be a really inspirational visit. And I've just seen Nigel has actually said, I find visiting other allotments gave me more ideas than public gardens. Funny enough, yes, visiting other allotments is something that I have on my list as well. Some allotments do have open days or barbecue days where you can go along and have a look at what they're going. Of course, if you've got friends with allotments, it's also good to go and visit them, which I quite try and do. I need to do more of that. But also, if you are part of the National Garden Scheme as well, or the National Garden Scheme, where you have open days in your local area and you can go and visit local gardens that are, private gardens. I could open my own garden up to this, and I've considered or been considering doing it, but with Roxy, I don't think it's really going to be possible. Um, so yeah, opening up National Garden Scheme is something that you might want to think about to look at, and as well to get more inspiration. The good thing is, if they are in your local area, you're going to find things that actually work in your garden. Ian says Arundel Castle is very expensive to get into. I know it is, but the Tulip Festival looks stunning, doesn't it? It is very expensive, but it does look stunning. Bethan says, my son Griff said his first word in the Eden Centre. It was daddy. I wasn't impressed with my son. That is, the Eden Project was great. What is it about the Eden Project that you like so much? Because that's definitely what I've wanted to visit for a long, long time. One of the problems, of course, although it's becoming less of a problem, more and more places now, or more of these gardens are allowing dogs in, which is making it all the more or all better to go and visit these gardens because I can take my dog. I ain't got to rush about to try and get back for her. Plus, she loves having a good nose around the garden. Leonardsley is one that I also want to go to, which is up the road from me. I don't know if they have a vegetable garden, but they have some amazing gardens. And chance you might see wallabies bouncing around too. Andrew says, I love the wall garden at Charleston, Full, designed by artists. Charleston, Full, yes. Um, I have been there, but I don't recall seeing the wall garden or the vegetable garden. But I'll have to go and investigate that a little bit further. Rob says, then we go for two. Oh, talking about Cornwall. Ian says, conversation amongst yourself. Tablet Stream says, there used to be a TV garden in King's Heath, but I don't think it's open to the public. Gardeners World was filmed there for a time, plus Gardening Time with Cyril Fletcher. Yeah, Gardener's World has launched, or season has opened up again, hasn't it? I saw somebody complaining about it. Not complaining, but wanting more seasonal. Not watched it myself, so I have no opinion. But yeah, I always think it's a shame that I don't know if Monty's Garden is open to the public, but I think it should be, shouldn't it? You should be able to, if you see it on the TV, people want to go and see it at the same time and soak in the environment. It's his garden at the end of the day. What he does with it is completely his choice. I'm waiting for Beech Grove to start again. Is that a garden you can go and visit? I mean, again, being on the TV, I guess that helps with the inspiration and getting a lot of ideas of what you can see and do. Steve says Kew Garden had a lot of veg stuff going on, including an area of students' allotments. Wisley has the same. Well worth visiting. Maybe not this weekend with the M25 closed at the Wisley Junction. Yeah, I had to get through that yesterday there and back on the way up to the NEC. The M25 closed. It wasn't too bad for us, but it was because we were early and late. But Kew Garden, yeah, I visited there a while back now, and I saw they had these student allotments, which again, it was April when I went, so it was a long time, but it was well worth going to see what they had going on. I think if I was to go visit these gardens again, it would have to be sort of June, July time to really see what is growing. I think any time before then, There's not much going on unless you like your spring flowers and stuff. Andrew says, hi there. Oh, no, let's see that. Scott says, I visited Heartland Abbey and Gardens in Devon last year. Good wall garden and very friendly gardeners that are willing to chat and show you about. Excellent. That's again, I think it's good when the gardeners are working in the garden, you can chat to them and find a few things out. Amanda and I used to be members of English Heritage, and we would visit these houses and see the gardens and chat to the gardeners at the same time. It was always good to get their sort of feedback and share with them or share with us how they go about growing things as well. Graham Arnold, evening everyone. Late tonight, been watching the football. That explains a lot. I didn't realise the football was on. Stu Jackson says Venter Gardens in the Isle of Wight is very good. Best time is summer and autumn, I think. Yeah, I mean, if you're at the Isle of Wight, it's worth visiting the garlic farm. I've not visited it, but it's one I really want to do at some point. What have we got? What have we got? What have we got? Toby Stream says, I would probably be more inclined to visit an allotment than a large garden. Why I was disappointed with the two shows I went to. Yeah. Again, this is a conversation I've had, or we've had many times, isn't it? We all. I mean, I love my gardening. I take inspiration from whenever I go to any of these gardens, but there is a lot of these big gardens can sometimes be a little bit too big. They can to scale it down into your own garden can sometimes seem unimaginable, but it can be done. It can be done. You've just got to take on board the advice or what you're seeing and seeing how you can take it down into your garden. What else have we got? What else have we got? Wakehurst as well, Gardens and House now, National Trust. Is it National Trust? It's part of Q. Part of Q. If I'm not mistaken. Again, I've visited there. Lovely woodland walk. Don't think it's got any vegetable gardens from memory, but a lot of woodlands walk. Again, that might be one I have to go to again. Bethan, Old Lee End House in Saffron Walden has a lovely walled garden with veggies. Yeah, love it there. Absolutely one of my favourite vegetable gardens I've visited a few times now. Definitely going to visit that again this year. Nigel says Heath Garden is still open but run by an independent company. I know Howard Drury, who presented Garden Time from there. Well, there you go. So if you do want to go and visit that, it is still open. There we go. There we go. Most of the RHS places have a good gardens, and you can do a short day course. Yeah, I mean the trouble. The RHS gardens are fantastic. I've been to, as I said, last weekend I went to Hyde Hall. Absolutely loved it there. Last year I went to Wisley. Some of the trouble I have with many of these gardens, when we go and visit them, they're great. Don't get me wrong, they are great. But you've got to visit them several times throughout the year to really understand what is going on. Is always my problem. And I think when you buy a ticket for one day, you don't really get to see. As I said, when I visited a lot of these gardens, and there's not much vegetable going on. If I visit them again June, July, August, they would be jam packed with vegetables. I still think it's. I still would like to see them growing vegetables all year round, but that's not for me to say. Stuart Jackson says the garlic farm is okay if you like garden. I think that was meant to be garlic, but that's all they grow and that's all you can see. It doesn't matter, does it? There's lavender fields out in Hampshire as well, which again, all they do is grow lavender. But when you drive past, it looks absolutely stunning. Ian says, I would love to see Audley End as it was home of the Organic Society. I did not know that, but that makes sense. Again, I've been to Audley End House a few times. Well worth visiting. Turbo Stream says we should all make a point of looking at the other plots on our site. Something I need to do more this year. I do agree. I do agree with that. Scott says I know Chef Roman Blake does gardening workshops. I'm not sure if you can visit, but it has an amazing kitchen garden. Yes. Yes, some hotels also have kitchen gardens built in as well. But I know Raymond Blanc's place. I can't think of her name off the top of my head, but he was in charge of it. But yeah, Rob says, when I got my first allotment, before I did anything, I walked around the site to see how others did theirs. Again, it's what works for you. Anna Jones says, my favourite visit near me is in Northumberland is Cragside. Not formal gardens, but landscaping with massive rockery and fernery, also a huge orangery with hotbeds. Alnwick is also very good. Is Alnwick the poison garden? I've made a note of the poison garden down here. Is that the one I'm thinking of? And then Ian Beddoes, I would love to go to a 1940s garden allotment. Now, this is funny because when I've been over this week, obviously, I try and think about this subject right throughout the week. And I was sort of thinking to myself, what would I do if I owned a garden that I was opening up to the public? What would I have in there? And for me, it's got to be about the vegetables. I would have, let's say, 10 acres of open garden. So of course I would have an orchard. I would have the big walled gardens, but I would also have like a row of houses, or a row of garden houses that each garden was set up differently. And one of these would be a World War II garden. So you would have the Anderson shelter, the Dig for Victory garden, where everything is grown there for the kitchen. So I'm completely with you there, Ian. I would also love a 1940s garden, but it would be, in the grand scheme of things, if I had my own garden to do this, it would just be vegetables all the way, different styles of vegetable gardening. It could have a Victorian garden and things like that as well. Ian says, does Charles Dowding open his garden as Richard Vobes did a video from there? He does, or he has done in the past, garden open days. So I'm looking, I haven't checked it out. If they do, then I might go this year. Turbo Stream says, I remember the veg plot in Bliss Hill, Victorian town, done in authentic style. I don't know what that is, but yeah. I visit National Trust gardens and they ought to have calves, but they don't grow their own food to use in the calves. And the same with other gardens I visit. Seems a shame. I know at West Dean they were trying to use, especially the apples, for making apple juice and things like that. I know there's definitely some of these places that do it. I think they do at Hyde Hall as well. Again, if I was running my own garden like that, I would be making sure all the food gets used in the calf as well to make the most of it. Nigel says, when I first started working in 1972, the company had a huge growing area and about 3 greenhouses. 2 full-time gardeners, kept the works canteen well stocked with veg throughout the year. Again, I would love to see more of this. I think it would do everybody the world of good. The trouble is, it's not very, from a business perspective, it's not very efficient. It's wrong, but it's not very efficient because there's no value in homegrown food as such. Dave Ford has joined. Good evening, Richard. Hope you are well. Hope you are well too. What else have we got? Chili Cake says, I'm looking forward to visiting some farms with work this year. Yeah, I mean, excuse me. I've still got this cough in case you haven't worked out. Visiting farms, of course, some good ideas going on there. Turbo Stream, Bliss Hill is a museum like the Black Country or Beamish Town. They recreate a Victorian town. Oh, is that like where they filmed? Oh, I can't think what it's called now. I can't think what it's called, but it'll come to me in just a moment. Right, let's quickly nip off to a video. We're going to do the sew-along video first. This week, it's the summer squash, the seed of the week from Premier Seeds. Well, hello and welcome to this week's Sow Along. This week we are sowing summer squash called Zephyr F1. This is in partnership with Premier Seeds Direct as our seed of the month. Premier Seeds Direct sell very reasonably priced seeds for quite decent quantities, and I highly recommend them. I've used them for many years. They're a brilliant seed company. Highly recommended. And we're working in collaboration with those, not being paid or anything, but we do have a discount code for you, VegPod10, to get yourself an extra 10% off. Now the seeds they've chosen this week is a variety called Zephyr F1. This is a summer squash which is really, really well worth growing, I have to say. And what I do, because the seeds are quite large, I'm sowing them inside this tray of pots. These are much larger than our standard plug plants, but they just get these off to a good start and should grow on quite well. Reason I do that, seeds are quite large, and usually when it comes to seeds being quite large, they need a bigger pot to grow because they grow quick and they can grow large, and it's all about saving time at the moment. So the seeds themselves, we just take a single seed and we just slide it into each little pot, and then we will place that entire pot inside our heater propagator until they germinate. Now these squash do need to be above sort of 15 to 18 degrees C at all times, including night time. At night it's a little bit cold here, so we're going to keep them above that temperature for the time being, and then we will just see how they get on. They won't go outside until the risk of frost has passed, of course, so mid-May. In the meantime, we're going to prepare the ground, give them plenty of light, plenty of compost for those to feed themselves and make sure that they are going to grow strong. Once they start flowering, we will feed with a tomato feed on about a twice a weekly basis, give or take, and then what we do with that is called Feed It Friday, as I'm sure you are all aware. That's it. That's how easy they are to grow. Those will produce these beautiful summer squashes that have got a yellow and green look to them with some white stripes. Absolutely beautiful plant. They will look great in the garden, and they will also look great on the plate or even in the fridge, just to add a bit of difference. They're much like a courgette, but they're more of a summer squash. So there you go. Give it a try and let us know how you get on. If you want the seeds, head to Premier Seeds Direct. They're £1.49 for 10 seeds, which is unbelievable value. And with another 10% off using VegPod 10, you save even more money. Right, guys, back to the studio. Yeah, there we go. So it is the summer squash Zephyr F1. It is the seed of the month. I keep saying seed of the week. It is the seed of the month. I don't know if any of you have sown them, but it is well worth sowing. Now, I think it was last week we was asked, or I was asked to add the feature to show off the previous sow-alongs and how they are getting on. So I thought I would do that this week. Now, cabbages that we sowed last week, there are absolutely no signs at the moment, but I'm sure, given them time, they will soon start appearing. Peas were sown the week before, if I'm not mistaken. They're not showing any signs just yet either. Give them time. I'm sure we will get there. And then leeks, which we sowed, if I'm not mistaken, the week before. We are just starting, just to start to see the signs that they are emerging. So there are things going on right there. So, yeah, we're going to try and do that every week to catch up with all the past sow-alongs. Next week, I think the seed that we are going to sow is cauliflower because, well, I like to grow a few cauliflowers and I'm trying to make sure we keep plenty of those things out there. On that note, I've just seen that Digwell says Zephyr squash were very prolific for me last year. 30 fruits from just one plant. So if you have 10 seeds and they all germinate, you could end up with 300 fruits if you're not careful. That's plenty. That's plenty. I've got some more seeds of those to sow somewhere, and we're working out the seed of the month for April as well. Nigel says Jeff Hamilton's garden in Barnsley-Dale is an enjoyable half day. In nearby is Rutland Water. What is it that you enjoy? What is it you enjoy? I want to find that out. What is it you enjoy about these gardens when you go and visit? Richard Golden's joined. Hello, all. Potatoes in the ground today. You were very lucky. It's really wet where we are. So you were very lucky to do that. But well done. Well done. Interesting stuff indeed. Hope you're going to share some photos soon of how they get on. Turbo Slim says they filmed Peaky Blinders at the Black Country Museum. I've not seen Peaky Blinders, so I'm learning something there. And Anna Jones, yes, Poison Garden is at Alnwick. Best time to visit is the end of April when the cherry orchard is in bloom. Hundreds of white cherry trees, and they look fabulous. Definitely one that is on my list of gardens that I want to go. I know there's probably absolutely no chance that there is any, what was I going to call them? Edible plants in the Poison Garden, but I really want to go there because it's quite unique, isn't it? It's something a bit different, something that's just going to be a bit of fun. Now, I just want to remind everybody, if you haven't done so, please do give us a like, please do give us a thumbs up, please do give us a follow, please do give us a subscribe, and don't forget to click the notifications so you know when we go live, even though we go live at 6 o'clock every Sunday. 6 o'clock, that is British time. I should just say that, just in case. Rob's Allotment Garden says, can't grow cauliflowers to save my life. Cauliflowers are always, I think, one of the hardest vegetables to grow. The reason being, I think, is because we try and sow them now for harvesting through the summer, which we can get away with but they bolt so much in the summer. I personally think they're much better off sowing them August for winter cauliflowers if you do not have much luck. I think the problem is they are so prone to bolting in the summer that you need to really think about that and work with that. Scott says the poison garden is full of edible plants, but you can only eat them once. Indeed, you can only eat them once. So, but hey, if it tastes good, that's all that matters. And Bethan says, I struggle with cauliflowers too. I think a lot of people do struggle with cauliflowers. I don't know why. Well, I do know why. I think it is because they are so prone to bolting, so prone to go into a seed that trying to keep them cool to get through the summer is pretty difficult. Digrel says some poisonous plants are used to trigger a response to cure an illness, but not for the amateur gardener, of course. Absolutely. It's when we were talking about the medicinal herbal bed last week. This is why I'm steering away from it, because I don't know. I'm not a doctor. So there we go. Turbo Stream says he sowed lettuce this week. LOL. Indeed, indeed. Well, as I said, I think your trouble with Adrian Turbo Stream, he always has trouble with lettuce that they tend to bolt. And I think it is just they get too hot in his little porch area. So going back to this conversation that we're having about garden to visit, what is it that inspires you when you go to these gardens, or what is it you're looking for when you go to these gardens? I guess we could extend this to garden shows as well. You know, we're heading towards show season where we're going to have Gardeners World Spring Live and Autumn. We're going to have Chelsea and Hampton Court not too far away, plus all the other shows going on. What is it that when you go to these shows, what is it you like as well? What is it that draws you in? What is it that you find that you like from them? For me, I love the atmosphere of the shows. And it's the same with the gardens that we visit. You're going to be surrounded by people who love their garden and who like their gardens and are taking in what they can see and take home. I feel it's the same with these shows. We're going there to be around gardeners. The atmosphere is just amazing. And I'm always looking for inspiration. I always want to see, I've said this time and time again, things that I can do at my own garden. Or what things that I can take home and try and replicate at home. I'm going to cough. One of the things that I've seen in the past at some of these shows, one of these shows was it last year or the year before when Frances Tophill did a show garden at BBC Gardeners World live at the NEC. And she used a load of sinks for various plants. Now, I already had a couple of Belfast sinks. Obviously, I've added another Belfast sink to that last week with the herbal tea bed. But we've also got a few more other sinks that I started using last year as well. I don't think they work quite as well because they're not square. They're not the Belfast sink. But there's few ideas that we get from it. Uh, Rob's Allotment Garden says, I go to Malvern for the giant veg and meet up with the folk. I always find Malvern, I've only been the once to Malvern. Of course, it is in the Three Counties showground. Um, a great atmosphere again, isn't it? A really big show. A lot to do. I just think it's a shame it's not set in the gardens. What I like about the spring fair at Bewley and the Audley End houses, they're set in gardens. So it's got an extra attraction on top of it. But yeah, meeting up with the folk is always one of the pleasures that we do. Digwell says, I'm not doing Garner's World Live Spring NEC. Garner's World's at the NEC he's talking about. Might as well go to a garden centre, in my honest opinion. I know where you're coming from. There are a lot of stalls at Garner's World Live, but for me, I mean, I enjoy it because I like the talks, chatting to the people. Um, you've just got it's just difficult because it's so busy. You can't really talk to the stall holders to find out more about their product. This is the problem we had yesterday at the NEC, funny enough, for photography and video show. But yeah, I know what you mean. I know what you mean. Digwell says, make a note not to go to Malvern autumn. Rob's allotment gun is going along. Cheers, mate. Cheers, mate. Yeah, we all crack these jokes, don't we? Uh, I tell you what, one of the gardens that I visited a couple of years ago, I made a video about it, was up in Scotland, and I'm trying to think what it was called. I can't think what it was called. It was up in Scotland. It was a beautiful garden. It didn't have any veg. It was just a beautiful garden, very tropical garden, which wasn't what I expected to find in Scotland. But because of the way it is, it seemed to cope with it quite well. And I cannot remember the name of it. This is going to frustrate me. It's going to annoy me now. Bethan says, Gardens World Live said they're doing more veg grown gardens this year. Yes, that was the thing that persuaded me because I was unsure about going to both the spring or the NEC. Audley, I might have gone, but when they said they're doing more veg gardening at these shows, I've sort of gone, well, I've got to go, haven't I? I've got to go and see what is going on in these gardens because it is in my remit. So, yeah, definitely that. Digwell says at the NEC Spring Show. Yes, at the Spring Show. The Spring Show is at Bewley. The NEC is the live show. And both of them are more vegetable gardening, vegetable growing. I think Adam Frost has designed, or one of the show gardens that Adam Frost has designed, is all around edibles, as I understand it. I've got the leaflet somewhere. Anna Jones, Logan Gardens, thank you. Yes, Logan Gardens, that's the one I was trying to think of. Logan Gardens in Scotland, absolutely beautiful. Really tropical, which you don't expect for being that far north, but because of the climate in the area, they had it quite well done. Money says going to the photography show tomorrow. Yeah, I went there yesterday. It was busy, very busy. Let me know how you get on when you go. Bethan says yes, Digwell. That's what they said at the press event. Yeah. Digwell might change my mind then. I used to be indecisive. Now I'm just not sure. That was my trouble as well, because I did say to him I wasn't unsure about going to Gardener's World, either of the show, any of the shows, until they said, "I bring veg in." And I was like, "Yeah, I've got to go then, haven't I? Just got to go." Yeah, Logan Gardens. Logan Gardens. That was the one I was thinking of. Again, there was no. I'm going to make a note of that because that would annoy me. There was no vegetable gardens there that I can remember, but it was well worth going. Rob is opening a tab on Westerns for his mates. Right, one other thing that I'm gonna move this subject on slightly. I tell you what should we do next? Let's have a look at this week's. Let's have a look at the photos that you guys have sent in this week because I think That's always a good thing to go. So first of all, Rob's allotment gardening. He's sent in a couple of photos. His first photos, I think, he sent in for us of his seedlings on his windowsill. Like many of us, our windowsills are looking pretty full, and this is it. What we expect to see at this time of year, isn't it? Just full of seeds and seedlings. It's great stuff. Great stuff. Phil has got 2 new water butts on his allotment. Or this is Chili Phil, of course, as part of the Chili's allotment. 2 new water butts. As you know, I'm a big fan of having as many water butts as you possibly could to try and make the most of that precious resource. 2 is definitely a good start. Kate's celery is on the move. She's obviously looking to move house. This is a celery. She always said, I think she said she wasn't too sure about growing celery, but it looks pretty good nonetheless. I'm pretty happy with that, I would say, as long as it tastes good, of course. Stuart also with the seedlings. Seedlings are looking pretty damn good. I noticed the one down in the right-hand corner has got the newspaper. I haven't seen Stuart, actually. Where is he? The newspaper pots that he has a tendency to make. Looking great, looking great. Now, Sarah, she made a herbal tea bed on the back of, obviously, this week's podcast and last week's mission. Okay, wooden box and some herbs that can be used for herbal tea. Absolutely fantastic idea. Just goes to show there's inspiration. When you set these missions, when you set these challenge, there's inspiration for everybody when you do it. Stephen's had a nice day on the allotment, as you can see here, with a rhubarb in the foreground, the daffodils in the background, looking fantastic with that beautiful sunshine there. Scott is having a cuppa on his allotment as well. Yeah, you know, this is what these days are for, isn't it? Just having a cuppa on the allotment, doing a bit of work, but enjoying yourself. And I think it's so important to remember we've got to enjoy ourselves. Somebody said a comment last week, or was it the week before, about that, and it's so true. Chili Kate managed a cheeky day off work this week, so she spent the time down on the allotment, and these are her broad beans. Got to say, they look. Excuse me. Excuse me. Absolutely fantastic. Beddoes came up with these novel spring onions. It looks like spring onions with boiled eggs deviled on top to make them look like daffodils. Great picture. I think I'm going to have to give it a go one day of making these myself. Love it. Now, Anne has also shared the comedy sketch, but I liked it. Amid all the uncertainty in the world right now, thank goodness seeds still germinate. It does give you hope, doesn't it? It does make you think just how lucky we are. So please do keep sharing those photos. You can send it to me via social media, post in our Facebook group, or email me, richard@veggroundpodcast.co.uk. And please do keep sending those photos in. A few comments came in during that as well. Where are we? Where are we? Bethan says, looks great, Rob, indeed. Rob says, they are my petunias and peppers, those seeds on the windowsill. Fantastic. Just goes to show how much more space we need, doesn't it, when we're gardeners? Andrew says, has everyone visited the Garden of Cosmic Speculation by the architect Charles Junks? It's in Scotland. I never visited it, never heard of it, but it's one on the list. We'll have to see about going there sometime. Make sure you eat the right ones. Yeah, talking about petunias and peppers. Idaho says, hello, Richard and everybody. Hello to you. Hope you are well. Stuart Jackson is there. He's just listening. Sorry, buddy. I didn't see you or what have you. Thank you for your photo, nonetheless. Idaho said, hello. What else? I think we caught up. Have we caught up? Yeah, we have. Let's get rid of that as well. So I was going to change the subject slightly and start moving on with with something that we're going to have to get up and running pretty soon. That is the Alternative Veg Grower Show. We did this last year. I made a lot of, or learned a lot from it, but we want to do it again this year and try and make it all the more fun. So what we did last year, we came up with a few different categories. Everybody just coming in with, excuse me. This is what confused me. Digwell says, my photo missing again, LOL. No, it's not. No, it's not. There's a reason. We've got something else lined up. Yeah, the Veg Grower Alternative Show. Few fun categories we did last year. We want to do it again this year. I thought we might have a bit of a discussion about what these categories we might do. So one of the subjects that we came up with was the wonkiest parsnip, which I thought was a great subject, great photo. All we did for this, and if anybody does want to participate, I will make an official blog post, video and everything up detailing what's going on. It's just if you want to participate in a particular category, you take a photo and you send it in to us. And then come the show, which will be towards the end of the year, October time, I make the judgment call, I make the judges, and I put who I think is the best. So, wonkiest parrot is wonkiest parsnip is the one of the categories that I came up with so far. The ugliest vegetable is another category I want as well. If anybody else has any other ideas, or do we do the same as what we did last year, or anything anybody would want to add? Let me know what your thoughts are on this particular thing. The idea being, it's not about the best looking vegetable. It's not about the biggest looking vegetables. It's about having some parsnips. It's about having some fun with it. Digwell said, "Will parsnips be ready by then?" Good question. Good question. Probably not. Thinking about it, you've made me rub that one off. I think somebody suggested it a few weeks ago, and you're right. They're not going to be ready, so we're not going to do that. Tommy Stu says, "You are judge, jury, and executioner then, Richard." Yeah, it is all down to me. It is just for a lot of fun. We want to really celebrate the failures, the mistakes, the things like that we all do. In all the failures and mistakes that we all do, we want to make it a bit more fun, a bit more like it's not a failure, it's just success. Digwell says, "Wonkiest carrot instead." Yes, that's what we will do. That's what we will do. Chili Kate, I've just harvested my parsnips. And Rob says, "I still got parsnips in the ground." Yeah, but you got to take your photos and then send them in sort of near October. So we'll do carrots because I think that's going to be a better one to do. Wonkiest carrot, ugliest vegetable, the muddiest boots. That's one we want to see as well. Muddiest boots. Again, it's all about just the photo. So you can set this up and make it as fun as you want. No mistakes in gardening, just a mishap. No mistakes. Yeah, you are right. It is all. It's a learning curve, is the way I like to look at it. Keep the parsnip for the Christmas special. Yeah, that's a good idea. We will keep the wonkiest parsnip for the Christmas special. Absolutely, absolutely. I'll make a note of that. Wonkiest parsnip Christmas special. So I've got to write these as I go so I can keep track. I will win with the failed lettuce entry then. I claim my award now. Yeah, I don't know how we could do that one, but that's the thing to think. Just remind me, did we do it all about veg last year, or did we introduce best sheds, best bakes, best wildlife shot, etc.? We did have a few a few other things thrown in there that weren't necessarily more garden related. I do want it to stick sort of closely to veg, but you know what? I like I like some of the suggestions. I think best wildlife shot. I mean, I love my wildlife. Best wildlife shot is definitely one I think we should throw in there as well. And I think the best shed, I like that. Best shed, could we do it? The best shed that looks a bit cool and things like that. Perhaps the messiest shed or the tidiest shed as well. How about that? Messiest shed and the tidiest shed. Best bakes as well. That's a difficult one to judge because this is all done on photos. Um, yeah, yeah. Any idea? Any ideas on things that we could do? Kate says she's sulking now. She had a great entry. We're going to save it for the Christmas. We're going to save it for Christmas. I assumed it was anything harvested in 2024. We, Kate, you can still use it for the Christmas special. I think that would be a good one. Nigel says, muddiest boots. I think I should judge that. You know what? I might put your name down for that. But yeah, that could be something we probably could do as well. Yeah. What else have we got? Looking forward to it. I grow a load of rubbish. Yeah. Wildlife, a good idea. Weirdest shed. Yeah, weirdest shed could work. Weirdest shed. Um, Lee, a good friend of mine, Lee Connolly, Skinny Jean. He converted an old taxi into a shed. So that's what I mean by it being a bit of fun. But I think messiest shed and the tidiest shed. Messiest shed, tidiest shed is definitely one that two categories I know, but something that I think would work quite well as well. Andrew says, I'll surely have a parsnip candidate for Christmas. Good idea. I've been watching a pair of blackbirds today building their nest. Yep, absolutely, absolutely. That will get photos of it. Get photos of it, and get busy with your camera. Nigel says best DIY gardening gadget. That's one. Best gardening DIY project. Is that a way to word it? Gardening project DIY. Best scarecrow. Could that work? Best scarecrow. I'm going to write it down. I'm going to write it down. I'm going to write it down. Digwell says, you stole my thunder. My Audi Q7 is my shed. Yeah. Well, it wasn't me that stole it. It was just my Lee made it, and I remember he put it in for a competition. I think it's a great idea when you see these sort of things. Ian says, Mr. Taxi and Olive's Princess Castle. She's not such a young child anymore. She's growing up quite rapidly. Rebecca says, we could also do a show us your best builds like sheds, cool frames, things we made at the allotment. Yes. Best gardening project. Yes. Absolutely. I think we did like the smallest potato as well, wasn't it? Was one smallest potato. I'm trying to remember all the ones that we did last year. There was quite a few of them, but I want to mix it up. I don't want it to be the same as what we did last year. Rob says, might try and video them. Do it. It all is good for wildlife. Here we go. Margaret, hello. Hope you are well. This is the post I did for you last year, if it helps. Smallest potato, smallest squash, largest tomato, largest strawberry, wonkiest carrot, rudest vegetable. Got to have rudest vegetable because that was fun. Longest cucumber, Mr. Potato Man, ugliest vegetable, flowers, tallest sunflower, best flower, weeds are pests. most overgrown mint, weed flower arrangement, equipment and clothing, muzziest boots, most bashed up wheelbarrow, best veggie box, fruit and veg rainbow platter, best garden craft, best bouquet garni, most meals from the allotment. Yeah. Get the idea. Get the idea. It was those sort of things, just to have a lot of fun with it and things like that. I will write up the schedule over the next couple of weeks and get that launched so that we can get preparing and get ready for that. Nigel says, butt of the year, water butt, absolutely. And Rob says, I would love to build a bar on my allotment. Yeah, I don't know if it would be allowed on my allotment, but I like the idea. And again, it's all about being a bit imaginative, just having a lot of fun with it. So we're not always doing the same old thing, trying to grow the biggest potato because that's what everybody does. Let's try and celebrate the normal stuff. For me, I've always thought that a lot of these shows should be based on, when it comes to vegetables anyway, taste. I always think taste is the most important thing, but they're never done that way. They never are done that way. Excuse me. Right, I tell you what. While you guys think on another subject, Stuart Jackson set me a challenge last week for the greenhouse. Let me show you what I did with that. Right, well, here I am in the greenhouse for this week's challenge. And this week's challenge was set by Stuart, if I remember correctly. And it was to show what I do with the greenhouse to ensure that our young plants get plenty of light. Now, as you can see, this greenhouse is getting pretty full. We've got our hanging basket of strawberries downside, peach tree, which is in full flower just down here. And I've had to add this shelving system to get some of my young plants, which we have had trouble with whitefly with, out from inside the kitchen out to here. Our daytime temperatures at the moment today, it's 22 degrees C, but it's a nice warm sunny day today. But our daytime temperatures are generally above the 10 degrees C, which is fine for chilies and aubergines, etc, etc. Nighttime temperatures, we are seeing sort of 6 to 8 degrees C, so during that time our plants are going a bit dormant, but I'm not too fussed about that because the daytime temperature is certainly picking it up. So internally it is pretty full, and I would like to make a bit more space, but I'm not going to make any massive changes because I've got a plan to change things around outside and get another greenhouse come potting shed just for our seedlings. So internally there's not much that I really need to do. Externally, however, there are a few things that I want to do. So for outside, one of the problems that we do have is this tree here puts a branch out across there. Now this is on the northern side, so it doesn't affect it too much, but what it does do is drop a lot of leaves, which then means that those leaves become on top of the plastic. And this greenhouse is plastic, I should say, not a glass greenhouse, but that causes a bit of a build-up, which can be a bit of a problem. So I don't think I'm going to have to get a saw on some of those branches and cut those off at a later date. Eventually I want to get rid of that entire tree. It seems to just sort of sprouted up. What I'm going to do, got a stiff brush here, just going to try and brush a lot of these leaves away. This is the trouble with sometimes when you put things in certain places. If I had this greenhouse in the middle of the garden, I'd be able to get all the way around it and really tend for it a lot better. But I put it up against the fence. Not too bad. It'll do. Again, it is on the northern side, so it doesn't really affect it too much. Now, again, these greenhouses do get a build-up of algae on the outside, which can also be a bit of a problem. I don't like to use any sort of chemicals, so again, a stiff brush and water, and just try and scrub it down. I can't put too much pressure on this because It is a plastic greenhouse, and I'm sure if I push too hard, it'll go through. Same can be said for glass, I'm sure. So just looking, some of this algae is actually on the inside as well, so I will have to repeat this on the inside just to make sure that we let in as much light as possible. Stiff brush, cloth, anything like that. Basically, a bit of hard work, a bit of effort will make all the difference. And then finish it off, pressure washer. Indeed, I've got to do the inside as well as the outside, which is very much the same thing, just a nice stiff brush, plenty of water, plenty of hard work, and it will come away. It's amazing how quickly those things build up, because I only cleared it out before the winter, but you know, it happens, doesn't it? Algae, and especially with all the rain we've had, it builds and builds and builds. Right, what, where were we? Digwell says, my grandkids will be growing my Conda spuds to see who can get the heaviest tater. Yeah, good. I mean, I haven't put that down on the list, but we'll see what happens. Ian says, son-in-law built a bar at the bottom of a garden, never got anything done. That's always the risk, isn't it? If you have a bar, you end up doing nothing. Rebecca says, I'm sure everyone could join in with the season's biggest epic fails. We all have them. I've actually put down biggest epic fails or epic fails. I want to see them. It could be in video or photo format, but yeah, I want to hear or see them or figure it out. But yeah, the epic fails is one that has gone down on the list. Rob says sugar. I think using sugar as a scrub to get rid of the algae. It's not a bad idea, actually. But again, I don't like using it. I've got rhubarb outside at the moment. I don't like using it there at the moment. Stuart says, I'm glad I'm not the only one that puts a greenhouse too close to the fence. I am lucky my wife likes cleaning my greenhouse. Yeah, it was a mistake that I did. We all do it, though. We all do it. We learn from these mistakes, as I said. I want to get a new greenhouse come podding shed to replace my shed in the background of that one. And I'm going to try and do that a little bit better than when I put it in. Rob says, like Duncan and Terry say, if you don't enter, you can't win. Who's Duncan and Terry, if you don't mind me asking? Don't know. That was, talking about the largest potatoes. Excuse me. So yeah, I need a mission for next week. You need to set me a mission, a challenge to do next week, because well, why on earth not? It could be a bit of fun. Lately, you guys have been coming out with some really good ones. And I've got a bit more time over this next couple of weeks. So whatever challenge you can come up with would be greatly appreciated. Something fun, like I said. I keep getting a flash. Is anybody else getting a flash on their screen, or is it just me? Let me know. Duncan and Terry are two channels that enter the giant veg classes. Right. Thank you. I tell you, I don't watch much YouTube, don't watch much anything. So sometimes I do need to. I just don't get the time. But thank you. Okay, I'll keep an eye out for those. What was I going to say? Yeah, while you guys think of a challenge for me to do for next week, I've got one more set of photos to go through. It is your harvest photos. These are photos that have been posted or sent to me of the harvests that you've made over this last week. And Nigel has harvested this lovely haul. We got some carrots, some leeks, some parsnips. All look really delicious, I've got to say. Really nice and fresh. My mouth is actually watering looking at these because they just look absolutely lovely, particularly the leeks and the carrots, and all three of them really. He also has harvested these beetroot from his veggie pod. If you don't know what a veggie pod is, it's a raised bed growing system, and it is brilliant, absolutely brilliant. They grow right throughout the winter, and they produce beetroot, or they're much more efficient at trapping in heat. I've still got beetroot in mine as well. It just goes to show the temperature difference that these things make. Kate's parsnips as well. I think this is the last of her parsnips. She dug those all up, and they also look absolutely fantastic. I know she said there was the wonkiest parsnip earlier, but it is there. These look pretty straight. They're absolutely fantastic. And Steve, he has forced some rhubarb in to make some crumble, as you can tell by this lot. Looks absolutely delicious. And again, my mouth was watering at the look of this. We do love our crumbles. But these are the forced rhubarb that he took a photo of as well. Forced rhubarb is a way to get earlier, pinker, sweeter rhubarb, and it is absolutely delicious. I didn't do it this year, I have to admit. Did it last year, but this year I haven't. But nonetheless, these look absolutely fantastic. Now, again, please do share with us your photos of your harvests for this next week. Post them in our Facebook group. You can send to me via social media, or you can email me, richard@adventuregroundpodcast.co.uk. Is that all the photos you sent in, Digwell? Because I know you said earlier. I'm sure that is all. I'm just having a quick look in the chat just to make sure. Where are you? I'm sure that, yeah. Just making sure, just to cover myself. Yeah, there we go. That is it. Beddoes, you never finished my railway allotment. No, it's still a work in progress. I'll be honest with you. It was a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. I've sort of got it, but I've had to buy the paint and things like that. It was a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. And I keep waiting for things to arrive so I can move on with it. But it is a work in progress. With any luck, I'll get it completely finished for next week for you. And hopefully you'll be happy with it. Let us know. Let us know. Chili Phil says, after that harvest, lots of our local friends are getting parsnips as gifts. Something you can do with parsnips that I made once was parsnip wine. I don't, as you know, I don't drink, but it was very, very popular. Parsnip wine. It sounds completely mad, but well worth trying. Money Boots says, what is the rhubarb variety to Digwell? Digwell says, watch the video. And then he comes back with Pink Blossom. Lovely, lovely. Idaho says, very nice, Nigel, talking about his harvests. Again, those harvests always are fantastic. And Rebecca says, challenge, could you make a wildlife home or do something for wildlife this week? Make a bird feeder or something wildlife related. You know what? I've actually got a project in mind for the hedgehogs. So yes, I can definitely do that. Let me make a note of that. Next week's mission is wildlife house, wildlife housing, etc., etc. Yeah, does that work for you? Does that building a wildlife home hedgehog house will work for you? Moneywitch says, I've got a similar coloured one called Stockbridge Arrow, talking about the rhubarb. Absolutely lovely. And parsnips look great, says Idaho. Chili Phil, I don't drink. Planning to make some curried parsnip soup with some of them. Okay, making the parsnip wine won't work, but you could give away the parsnip wine as an idea. Don't know. Bethan says, I've made parsnip wine and it was a little like sherry. It was lovely. Yeah, it was. Thinking about it, it was a bit like sherry, wasn't it? Very sort of pungent, very strong. Moneywitch says, I will when Richard has run out of things. What was that? What was that? What was that? Oh, watch the video. Run out of things to say. Yeah, talking about watching the video. Yeah. Digwell says, shred the excess parsnip and dry them. Add to soups. Good idea. Good idea. Um, that's a great idea. Dried parsnips to add to soups and things. Good idea. Wildlife Home, great idea. And Chili Cat says, that sounds perfect. I'm off to a greening community project meeting on Tuesday to find out what it's all about. Excellent. So the mission for next week is to build a wildlife home for wildlife. I'm probably only going to do one because it's something else we can do later, or another one we can revisit later on in the year. Beautiful Rhubarb says Digwell, and Rob says, come to my house if you want wildlife. Yeah. Parsnip hash browns are good as well. Parsnip hash browns, indeed, actually. Yes. If you want a recipe for parsnip hash browns, they are on the Veg Ground podcast that Scott came up with. We actually made some of those. They were really nice. Really nice. Well worth trying. Bethan says, watched Gaz Oakley making parsnip sauerkraut the other day. That looked good. Parsnip sauerkraut. Interesting. Interesting. This is what can we do with parsnips now? What recipes can we come up with for parsnips? An interesting one. Anna Jones, wildlife home buck houses are very easy to make from canes, and I've got a lot of canes, as you probably saw. Yeah, sure. Parsnip crisps are nice as well. Excuse me. Right. We are coming down towards the last 7 minutes of the show. We've figured out the mission for next week, wildlife housing. That seems to be something quite popular. We want some ideas of what to use up the excess parsnips as we finish off this show. A lot of ideas are coming in: parsnip wine, parsnip crisps, parsnip sauerkraut, all of which seem like good ideas. Now, what sort of subject do you want to talk about next week as well? One of my ideas, and this is based off the fact that I went to the photography show yesterday. I'm a bit of a, I quite like my photography. I'll put it like that. I don't do enough of it, like most things, but I like my photography. And I was wondering if we could talk a bit about garden photography, taking photos of your garden. Don't have to. It's up to you guys if you want to talk about that subject. Or if you've got any other suggestions, it would be great to get a few ideas. Rebecca says, so many lovely ideas for parsnips, indeed. And Moneywick says, leek potato and parsnip soup. Oh, absolutely. There was, I'm trying to think what one of the ideas was ginger and parsnip soup or something. In the past we've had parsnip and ginger soup possibly. Chili Phil says, did you visit London Camera Exchange? My mate was working there this weekend. Yeah, I visited it. The trouble is it was so busy yesterday that to try and talk to anyone. One person I did talk to, actually, Graham Bolton, who's not in the audience tonight, but is often in here. He was on a stand as well. I had a lovely chat with him. He was there. But yeah, they were so busy to try and talk to certain people was pretty hard. I've got to say. Rob's allotment gone. That sounds nice, Nigel. Digwell says, photography good. See what you learned at the NEC show. Absolutely. A few ideas. There's a few ideas that came out of it. Stu Jackson says, garden photography would be great as I take a picture every day of my garden and would love to get better at it. Well, I'm not going to promise that, but hopefully we can all come together and share our thoughts on that and try and get better at it. Yeah, we'll save that for all that. Turbo Stream says, I'm okay with photography as a subject. And Scott says, I find high sugar content veg like parsnips don't work well fermented, but might just be my taste. Yeah, I've never tried fermented parsnips, so I will take your word of it. I know that when they made parsnip wine, it was very, very strong, like sherry. So, yeah, definitely a few ideas that are coming out of here. But the photography, garden photography, seems to be like a you're all happy with for next week. I think it's definitely going to be one that we will discuss and get a few ideas from everybody out there on how they do it. I'm looking forward to it. I'm actually looking forward to it. Chili Cake says, I borrowed our son's camera. Now he's finished his GCSEs. When I visited the snowcrops, I really enjoyed it. Excellent, excellent. So what we're going to want then, I'm going to want lots of photos that you have taken from your garden or your allotment over this next week that we can display and discuss then, if that's going to work. It's going to be tricky because I work with a DSLR. Well, it's a mirrorless, but I want a big camera. But if you do it on your iPhones, are pretty good cameras these days, or your smartphones are pretty good cameras on them these days. So we can work with that as well. It's for me, it's all about trying to work out what the settings do and what we can change to get a better better photos. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'd like the idea. Uh, Nigel says cameras on phones are so good now that the only thing they're missing is a decent digital zoom. I agree. They are pretty damn good. I mean, I think Netflix now allows smartphone videos on their channel. If you shoot a proper film, if you like, on a camera, on a camera phone, they actually allowed it on Netflix. They got so good now. You're right about the decent digital zoom, and there's a lot of things I don't like about them. Mainly how fiddly I find them to be used when compared to my mirrorless DSLR. Um, but yeah, the zoom or the optical zoom as well, things like that. Digital zoom makes the picture pixelated. That is absolutely right. I do find that as well. This is all something that we are going to discuss. But what I want to see lots of photos over this next week that you have taken from your garden, your allotment, that you are really proud of. Um, my, I'm not going to critique at all. But what I will do, my thoughts are, I'm going to take my camera out, pull it in exactly the same position, and just take a few photos, just constantly adjusting some of the settings, be it the aperture, the shutter speed, the ISO, the things like that. Um, that does that sound good for you? I think it's going to be a good one. Samsung has an optical zoom. Yeah, yeah. I won't get into editing because that is still a nightmare as well. But yeah, I think these pictures, this is going to be garden photography. Most people I find who are into their allotments or the garden are also into photography as well. So yeah, if anybody's got any questions on that as well that they want to get ready for that, let us know. Digwa says, I have a few photos and a video and a short video I am proud of. Send it in. Send it in. Right, guys, we are about to. Okay, enjoyed it. Yeah, yeah, we've had a good laugh about that. It's yeah, yeah. Right, guys, we are here. It is 7:30, so I think it is time to go. Uh, we will be back again next Sunday at 6, where we're going to be discussing garden photography. Love to see your photos as always, and we'll see what we can do. Right, guys, I'm going to wrap this up and get out of here. Thanks so much for joining me. Thanks so much for all the photos and all the input that you have done. Always good to chat. We'll do the same again next week. You take care, guys. I'll speak to you again next time. Bye for now.